I started learning about the history of the occupation, the political ideology of Zionism, Israeli settlers of the West Bank. I was watching videos coming out of Gaza and crying with friends. I started learning about how colonization, capitalism, and white supremacy need each other to exist and how they were at the root of the Nakba 76 years ago that never ended for the people of Palestine. I was taking it all in, and I was silent. I was scared. I was thinking about myself. I didn't want to be labeled anti-Semitic. I didn't want to get canceled and lose my career. I didn't want to lose fans. I didn't want to offend anyone. But at a certain point, I couldn't believe those voices anymore. My heart had just enough cracks in it that the light of Palestinian resistance, struggle, and unwavering faith cracked it open. I was experiencing what happens when the internal pain from being silent outweighs the risk of speaking up in moments of injustice. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you learn the real history, you can't unlearn it. Once you get past the media and the White House focusing solely on October 7th, once you begin to look at October 6th, 5th, 4th, and the 75 years before of oppression and displacement, that's when the truth opens up. And once you look under the hood and realize our government officials are bought and paid for by the Israel lobby, you can't look at our so-called democracy the same way. Once you understand that our tax dollars are funding a genocide that we are watching in real time in the palm of our hands, I believe it is our moral obligation to adamantly protest the atrocities we are witnessing and funding, or we are complicit.
Okay. After our epic night on Tuesday, I got home at 2 a.m. Unable to sleep, I jumped online onto Instagram to be confronted with the images of dead and dying children. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I know this is unprofessional. I am just a normal person, not a career politician. From the latest indiscriminate Israeli bombing of civilians in Gaza. It was such a wrenching feeling to have been so swallowed up in an incredibly intense night here, with all the pettiness and hostility and outright lies that happen in this chamber, which can feel like the whole world, for that to then be shattered by being instantly transported into the refugee tents of families in Gaza. And as I lay in bed, my 15-month-old baby lay sleeping peacefully next to me. I saw images of little Palestinian babies, mutilated, their feet poking out of the rubble. On Tuesday night, this week, Israel broke the ceasefire and spent the night bombing refugee tent encampments in civilian areas. The body of the first dead baby had a little pink jumpsuit on with flowers. Sorry, it's important that I say this. I imagined the mother picking that outfit out for her baby when she was pregnant, full of hope for her child's future. I saw men weeping over the wrapped-up bodies of children. It is something that the brain cannot understand when you first see it. The small cloth-wrapped bundles that are children's bodies. I saw a video of a little boy about 6 years old, so traumatised by witnessing the death of his entire family, that he sat directly facing a bloody hospital wall, just staring blankly and quietly rocking. And it's not just the bombing of civilian areas that are killing these children. I have seen and heard testimony of doctors. And for those that may want to dismiss the testimony of Palestinian healthcare workers, I've heard this from foreign aid doctors there about treating children with multiple bullet wounds from Israeli snipers.
Israel is systematically dismantling Palestine. There is no longer a contiguous, functioning Palestinian state. We talk about in the abstract occupation. This is an illegal invasion of Palestinian lands. It is a breach of international law. It is a breach of UN charters. It's a breach of fundamental rights, and it's a breach of basic decency. So Europe does have to act.
The Pension Committee Chair, Ealing Council incredibly, has £112 million invested in complicit companies in Israel's genocide and war crimes. We're here to tell them to stop it, to start to divest as soon as possible. We've asked them in December, with 3,500 people signed a petition where the council said it was too expensive to divest. You cannot profit from genocide and war crimes. It's not acceptable, not in Ealing, not for a Labour council, not for this community, not for the UK, not for the public. The Foreign Secretary this week said Israel is in breach of humanitarian law. This breaches the Rome Convention, the Geneva Convention and our own UK laws on prevention of genocide. We must stop the arms trade, and we absolutely cannot profit from the death of children, women and men in Gaza. It must stop now. Thank you, and please support our campaign and write to the councils and write to the pension committee and make them divest now.
He said to me, "Don't raise your voice. You know what he's like." And I said, "Yeah, I do."
What am I like?
See, he's like that. All right. This is a complete false equivalence.
I'm not making a false equivalence.
He's interrupting again.
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to the camera. The oppressor, the state of Israel, is committing genocide on a whole people. Some of the people in the prison where the genocide is being committed resisted the genocide on October the 7th. And some people in Israel were killed. And I feel for them and their families. But let's not forget where all this started. It started in May. I believe it was May. May even have been the 15th of May, 1948, at the Nakba. It's one set of people trying to steal.
I am horrified by the Israeli government's massacre of well over 65,000 Palestinians in Gaza. I am ashamed and infuriated that this mass murder is funded by our American tax dollars. It should not be controversial to say that we should all be against murdering civilians.
I am Jewish Holocaust survivor. So when the Israeli government says that they're doing what they're doing against the Palestinians because of the Holocaust and because of anti-Semitism, I feel outraged. And I do not want them to do any atrocities in my name, in the name of the Holocaust. It's a genocide. It wasn't a ceasefire. They didn't break a ceasefire. They just doing what the European Nazis did against the European Jews. And yet the Palestinians had nothing to do with the horrors of the Holocaust. I feel utterly outraged that while a Holocaust survivor is interviewed here in London, Israel continues to kill innocent Palestinians in the name of the Holocaust. Outrageous.
A very dangerous slide towards complete authoritarianism and even in the direction of fascism. We can see that in Germany and the US, the suppression of protest and free speech is violent. We have to resist as much as possible.
As Stephen's son, it's really it's distressing to know that he's being interviewed by the police at the moment.
Holocaust survivor Stephen Koposch, he was supposedly breaking through the police line. Well, I can tell you, he's not in any physical state to break through a police line. He's 87.
As the son of a Holocaust survivor, I am in despair at what is happening, the genocide that's happening in Gaza. And I'm also in despair at the fact that here in Britain, the Metropolitan Police have decided to pursue an actual Holocaust survivor in his late 80s.
I think the fact that an 87-year-old Holocaust survivor is so warmly welcomed on the marches, universally, he's loved. I think it gives a lie to the fact that there's anything remotely anti-Semitic going on. And in fact, the conflation of anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism is just a way, an attempt to silence protest.
And I saw things that I never would have expected to have seen in any healthcare setting. I saw things at Al-Aqsa Hospital which I still wake up at night thinking about. Appalling injuries in particularly women and children, the most devastating burns in small children. One child that I'll never forget had burns so bad you could see her facial bones. We knew there was no chance of her surviving that, but there was no morphine to give her. So not only was she inevitably going to die, but she would die in agony. And what made it even worse, that there was nowhere for her to go and die. So she was just left on the floor of the emergency department to die. And that's just one story. We've all seen multiple